It's a Tuesday edition, and we are all back here on Zero Block 30. I'm glad to be back in the old saddle again, especially with 4 rounds of the magazine, and I'm excited about each one of the topics. Round number 1, with 2020 officially in the books, is it time to turn the page to what many experts are saying will be the horniest year of all time? Round 2, the gas chamber is one of the military's rites of passage. One tale from over the break is going to make you want to head back to the gas chamber, especially Kate, from March to July. Round number 3, new year, new us. When I was headed to boot camp, travel was on my mind. I wanted to see the old globe. I got to see a lot, but certainly not every country. I want to take us on a little audio journey and explore some of the countries in alphabetical order. Maybe not alphabetical order. We'll figure it out as we go. But first up, we're going to do some fun facts about Afghanistan. We've talked a lot about Afghanistan, but not much about the culture. We're going to change that in round number 3. Round number 4, help us help you. We scoured the old internet to find questions we could help young boots or salt dogs. And we're going to hear your stories if you send them to us at ZeroBlock30 on Instagram or on Twitter. DM us, do whatever you got to do to get us the stories. We want to be your barracks lawyer. It is Kate's specialty. You don't get a billboard without it being like your legit specialty, right, Kate?
It's true. It's up. Enter any Marine Corps base. I'm on the highway right before you head in.
That one doesn't look like you at all. Like that picture with the BCGs rocking doesn't look like you at all.
And I got those BCGs at boot camp, obviously, and I've always been lazy about my health. So instead of, as soon as I got to the fleet, instead of changing over and like going to an eye appointment and getting regular, because there's like 20 other pairs of glasses you could choose from once you got to the fleet. No, I kept my BCGs. I just rocked them. I looked like a giant idiot for a long time.
I'm not sure why you did that. I got some.
Kyle just put his on.
Oh, wow. Kyle's got some too. I got some safety glasses whenever we used to. There was like this safety stand down that came because there was a guy, I forgot about this story, who got pink eye from dog shit. Like the dogs like spin and their shit went into his eyes. And so the safety person on base was like, when you guys go to the kennels, you have to wear safety glasses. And they issued us safety glasses. And I look like the biggest nerd of all time.
Oh yeah, nobody
like the
looks
kid
cool
that's flexing on Little Giants. I look like that kid.
Intimidation.
Yeah, it was bad.
Don't you be talking about my mama?
Don't talk about his mama, or don't talk about his mama's pubes. Because if your mom has big pubes, maybe you didn't get her. Oh man!
Whoa! No.
Go ahead.
Maybe you get your mom a nice Christmas gift, and she's got a bush that's out of control. It's not even HW; it's a straight up W bush.
What? What does that even mean?
Well,
wide.
Well, yeah, because George W had a full head of hair, and HW always kept it real trim and proper. He always had a medium reg. Not old George. George was a nasty little recruit. He has it much longer, probably because he trims it up with the Perfect Package 3.0 that features the Lawnmower 3.0. It's a wonderful grooming thing. If it's going to work, I bet it'll work on your regular hair too, if you need it to. Because if it'll chip through pubic hair, which are known to be thick like toothpicks, it'll definitely go through your regular hair. Coming out of quarantine with clean balls, thanks to the Lawnmower 3.0, this waterproof and skin-safe trimmer will reduce nicks to your 2 best friends. That's your testicles. Or, ladies, you also have 2 flaps. So 2 and 2.
You don't shed no hair on them if you have hair on your flaps, but I'll tell you, the area around them.
Flaps don't have hair?
No, that's troubling.
Oh.
Chaps, you sure you have children?
I do have children, but I don't. I mean, at that age, I'm not checking it out. Like,
no, I just meant like you should know what's going on down there. Is all I'm saying.
No, I don't know. I didn't know that. That's an interesting, fun little fact there. Make sure that you go get your own flap shavers at manscaped.com. Use the promo code 0. New year, new balls. They're all going to smell good. They also have this shed travel pack to keep all the goodies stored comfortably. Speaking of comfort, the Manscaped anti-chafing boxer briefs are also included and will bring you your underwear game to the next level. They also sent out, I got some cologne and it smells wonderful.
Yes.
I love the cologne that they have. It's great. Make sure you go to manscaped.com, enter the promo code 0. What are they going to get? Anybody know? I know. Do you guys know?
No, but I can't wait for you to tell us.
You're going to get 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the promo code 0. New year, new balls. They're all going to be shaved. It's all going to be shaved. Let's get going with the show. All right, we are all back in the saddle here on Zero Block 30. You probably are as well after a long break. I gotta say, having Christmas and New Year's on a Friday was a complete mind fuck. I woke up on Saturday morning because the NCAA playoffs were on Friday. I woke up on Saturday legitimately like depressed that I was going to have to go back to work the next day. I even tweeted out Sunday Scaries on a whole new level, and people started tweeting me, "Well, that's weird because it's Saturday."
I'm sorry,
And
that wasn't a bit. You legit thought it was
no, I legitimately thought and had told my wife, like I had already, the trash comes on Saturday or Sunday afternoon. We'd already taken the trash out to the curb and everything. And then I checked Twitter again and people were like, "Yeah, it's Saturday." I looked, I didn't believe it. It was like somebody's fucking pranking me. They're trying to make me like Dwight Schrute when he did laser tag on a Thursday. And then I looked at my app on my phone and I was like, "Holy shit, it is Saturday." So I was gifted another day. Beautiful. Like that's amazing, being gifted another day.
So I thought the way the holidays fell this year, you can't really get any better, because then you have the weekend behind that in addition to the holiday, and it was just excellent. And yeah, I think you were not alone in Saturday feeling like it was Sunday.
No, several people like DM'd me back and they're like, "Dude, I legitimately thought I would have showed up at work tomorrow or been like, where the fuck is the NFL at noon?" Because that was the tweet. I was like, surely, no way they flexed the Jags. Because I read this Jaguars beat writer's tweet. He was like, "Tomorrow's game." It's like, did they flex fucking the Jags to Monday Night Football? Surely not. Like, that would be weird if they did that. Not what happened at all. But I started out, I want to see if you guys have any New Year's resolutions. Kate, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that you are broadcasting the first time in your new place.
And where do you live now? Lovely. Where do you live now? In what state?
I live in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I live in New Jersey now. And I have to tell you, I'm fucking loving it. I'm loving it so far. I gotta say.
You know what they don't have in New York that they have in New Jersey? Tell them, Kate.
I went to the grocery store. They had my brand of pork roll from down in Philly that I like right there. In
Taylor?
I call it pork roll, but yes, it is called Taylor ham. But yes, they have my.
I have that here at my HEB.
I already found a good donut spot. I already found a good deli. I found
your donut with the Fruity Pebbles had crunch still, which is very impressive.
They make the donut right there, chaps. They say, "How many donuts you want?" I said 2. Plop, plop right into the grease. They make them right there, so they're crispy and hot and toasty, right down the block from me. I'm in a good spot, guys. I actually really
love that.
I have a parking spot under the building. So I just go down there. I'm a little key fob. I'm never getting a ticket.
You don't have to be like Carmen Sandiego looking for a parking spot.
I don't have to move my car anymore. No more. Like, I would be in tears looking for a spot in Queens. Like, it's really is a goddamn delight.
But that would have been good content when you're like 8.5 months pregnant looking for a spot and just absolutely bawling your eyes out.
Oh yeah. I will say this.
Just giving up parking on a sidewalk.
I thought I could do this move alone. And my baby daddy was like, "Do you want me to come up?" And I was like, "Save your money for your move. I got this. It's not a big deal." It was overwhelming. I definitely should have asked for help. And it was like, I'm still getting settled. It took me like a week. And I made like 20 trips to and from my car. I was like lifting and carrying and doing all sorts of shit I shouldn't have been doing. I know. I was doing, by the end, I was so exhausted. I slept for like 15 hours straight.
And Cons is right down the road. I'm sure he would have come over and help.
Yeah, I know. 10 minutes away.
So many people offered to help, but I'm like, it's the holidays and everybody hates to help people.
Take help. You gotta realize that. It's like the fucking military mantra. Accept a little help. Your pals don't mind. Especially if you don't ask. If they're reaching out and asking, you're pregnant. They actually want to help.
Yeah, you got to be a special kind of jerk to offer help but not actually mean it. So if people are offering, they
I disagree with that. I do that all the time. Like if it's a dude that's asking me for help, I'll be like, "Hey, you need this?" Because I know for a fact they're going to say no. If they said yes, I would be pissed. It's different when you're dealing with a pregnant lady. I think that if you're offering a pregnant lady, you actually will help. Speaking of that, one of my buddies is a Marine here. He's moving out of his rental house that he had while he was here. He's retiring too, moving into his house that he built here. And I was like, "Do you need help to move?" And he said, "I didn't need any help moving in. I don't need any help moving out. I don't have a truck. I don't have any of that stuff. I'm just going to figure it out." I'm like, dude, you are an absolute moron. I have nothing to do. I hate my kids. I want to leave. I will come and help you with my truck. We'll move it in my big yellow truck. he didn't do it. He did it by himself.
Is that one of the
Mistake.
most annoying things you can ask or be asked of, is to help someone move?
Yes, hands down. That's why I
It
didn't
depends.
do it.
I think that the person has to be inside your top, it has to be inside your MySpace top 8.
Yeah.
Like if they're a person that would be in your MySpace top 8, I don't think you mind. Anywhere outside of that, get out of my face. I'm not helping you.
I bought a heavy duty wagon. I was using, because I got so tired, the thought of and then I was using yoga blocks as chalk blocks to help me lift and move my couch and stuff like that. I was like piece by piece using leverage systems to get all my shit in place. And because the moving guys just dumped all my shit and left. And I was like, oh, I guess I got to put all this stuff in the different rooms and whatever. It was overwhelming.
Well, good news. I'm coming over later with a gift. So if you need anything, make a list of what you need help with, and I will be there to help you.
Fixing my rug. Speaking of Manscaped, I got to get my rug all straightened out over on the.
Okay.
I also made some big changes over the break. I'm going to stick with a workout plan. I put it out there. So I'm going to post for next 30 days. I'll post what I'm doing and see if people want to do it with me, see if people stick with it, and send us through the DMs or whatever a picture of what you weigh now, and then at the end of 30 days, what you weigh. And then we will do a percentage of loss, and whoever wins, you get any shirt, any item in the Barstool store for free. Not anything outrageous like the bowling balls or anything. Don't be fucking absurd, or like the Arctic coolers or anything like that. Not going to do that. Any shirt you want, I'll send it to you. So we'll do a little ZBT weight loss competition. See if we can all get back in standards. If you're a young dude with abs and shit, fuck off. I don't want to see those. I don't want to see
we
those
want
at
nasty little worms like us.
Mm-hmm. And I started doing the boxing today. This morning was the first one that I did, the heavy bag boxing, which you could see behind me in the social clips. You'll be able to see that too. Oh, boxing. Good God, dude. I was so winded. I was trying to impress my wife. She was in the living room. I have the heavy bag in here. I was like, she's going to hear me hitting the fucking shit out of this thing and probably get all turned on. So I was giving it the what for the first round after you have to jump in place. First of all, jumping in place at 38, you're not meant to jump after 30.
No, I agree. Jump roping is exhausting.
I love jumping rope. I love
There's things that you used to do as a kid
Exhausting.
without thinking about it that wasn't exercise. If you would have told me when I was a child that riding a bike was exercise, I'd be like, no, it's not. It's just how to get to your buddy's house.
That's how I get to Brian's.
Yeah. And I would ride for miles, problem at all. Now I get on it and I'm huffing and puffing. While I was jumping in place, the first thing I had to do was jump in place for a minute. It's that's easy. After a minute of just straight jumping, I was like, I'm exhausted already. 1 minute in, I'm exhausted. And then it was said to do jabs and crosses. And I was doing jabs and crosses pretty hard into the bag, and just to try to make it pop so my wife could hear. Big mistake. You got to take it slow. She's not going to be impressed. She's not going to care. She does not care. I could knock a hole through this bag and she wouldn't blink an eye. It would make a bit of difference.
If anything, I mean, I'm looking at the bag right now. It has the little chain hanging from it. It looks like it's a really sturdy setup, but I think anytime you hit a heavy bag, it's a little bit of a noise. I think that would get obnoxious after a while. So she probably will ultimately not be impressed and just say, excuse me, Matthew, can you please close the door? I don't want to hear this anymore.
Yeah.
No, she will not be polite. She'll be like, shut the fucking door, you pussy. Nobody wants to hear you working out. That's the way it would go. But I'm excited about it. I love the bag. Shout out Barstool, sent it to me. It has our logo on it, which is pretty incredible that they sent that. I enjoy it. I'm excited about working out and going and doing that type of thing. I'm excited to be back. I'm excited about a lot of the reports that are coming out about what's going on in the world. One of which I actually posted a poll on Twitter about, and the results here are pretty shocking because we're going to move into round number 1. And it has to deal with a report, not really like a scientific report or anything like that, but it was just it's a college professor, and we'll get into it in a little bit. But before we do that, I put out a poll on Twitter and I said, will 2021 be the horniest year yet? And if so, why? And the results of this poll, pretty good. What would you guys say is the percentage of folks who thinks that 2021 is going to be the horniest year ever?
Over 70%. I'm trying to find this poll right now, but I would say over 70%.
I
Okay.
voted no because my taint's gonna be healing.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
I should have had like a little caveat, an asterisk there that said,
Yeah.
except for Kate because of her taint.
Normally super horny. So you know.
All right. Yeah.
There you
So the results are 51.1% of people said, yeah, I'll be extra horny in 2021. Same levels of horny for me, 33%. I'll never be horny chimed in at 15.9%. And that's with over 2,500 responses. So I think that's a pretty good barometer of where we're at. Lots of people going to be extremely horny, which gives a lot of credence to what this certain professor is saying. Kate, walk us through what's going on with old Dr. Nick.
Yeah, hedonistic hijinks are just around the corner once COVID-19 is kaput, says one Yale professor, Dr.
Unreal
Nicholas.
use a kaput. We don't use kaput nearly enough.
We really don't.
Surprise of the century. I don't know that this might be the first time I've ever seen the word kaput spelled out. Did not know it had a K.
Is kaput an onomatopoeia?
I don't know what that means, but
I think it might be. Kaput.
Might be. Could be.
Kaput.
well, either way, Dr. Nicholas Christakis over at Yale, he has a new book out, Apollo's Arrow, The Profound and Enduring Impact of Coronavirus on the Way We Live. Like, how are things going to change kind of permanently after this, which I bet a lot of things will. That he says an orgy of sex and spending are just around the corner.
I'm sorry to interrupt real quickly. Great for this doctor, and he's a doctor and I'm not. Aren't we jumping the gun a little bit writing a book already about this stuff?
Tell that to Governor Cuomo.
No, he's the worst. He's the worst. He's like mid-pandemic.
That might be the worst, like frozen ice cold takes, or what is it called? Frozen takes of all time.
Freezing cold takes, yeah.
Yeah, that might be the worst. Like your leadership, your state stunk at coronavirus, dude.
Yeah.
Well, what's the best is that this guy is saying, kind of in the words of Rodney Dangerfield, a la Caddyshack, hey, everybody, we're all going to get laid. Hell yeah. The Boffin believes that hedonism will replace the conservative socializing. Unfortunately, the bonkorama may be years away. Who wrote this doing a bonkorama?
I love a bonkorama.
Love a good bonkorama. Bonkorama ding dong. During epidemics, you get increases in religion. People become they abstain from sex. They save money. They get risk averse. Basically, everybody tucks it in a little bit, gets a little more careful, sticks to themselves. In 2024, all of those pandemic trends will be reversed. Think the Roaring 20s. That unhinged decade followed harrowing bloodbath of World War I. Then the 1918 Spanish flu that left 50 to 100 million dead in every corner of the planet. After those two things passed and there was a little bit of clearing, people were like, let's fuck.
Dude, imagine being born like the year 1900. You have to deal with like most of your family is going to go to World War I. Then you're dealing with the Spanish flu. Next up, whenever you're like in your 40s and should be in your prime, you're going to have World War II. And then whenever you're getting older, going to be in grandma season, you have the Korean War going on. That was a shitty time to be born.
Yeah. So when there was finally
not to mention Jim Crow laws and all that stuff too.
Yeah. When there's finally some peaceful time, people are like, let's get it on. Let's get fucking weird with it. So big bashes typically follow times of restraint. So we hold it in, and we can't hold it anymore. We're going to get fucking weird. One of the arguments of the book is that it's happening to us seems to be alien and unnatural, but plagues are not new to our species. They're just new to us in this generation. So we have.
When I first read that yesterday, it was like that one GIF where the explosions are going off.
Yeah.
And you're like, shit, man. There really is nothing new under the sun when you're talking about what happened in 1912 or 1918. And then I saw some political tweets from, I forget who it was that actually tweeted it out. It might've been Rubio because he does that kind of shit all the time. But they were saying that the founding fathers would be pissed if they knew that we were shutting down. And then all these people were like, no, dude, they shut down Boston in the 1700s because there was a smallpox outbreak. And then you have to rationalize it and shit like that. But imagine going then like this. That's when they would be like, oh, you have a cough? Let's drain your blood.
Yeah.
Imagine dealing with a pandemic when they thought that leeches on your throat would be a big help.
Yeah. So at least things have gotten a little better, but basically time and time again, looking throughout history, whenever there's been a plague or some horrible thing, obviously it sucks. And then a few years later, because it affects the economy, even a zillion years ago, whatever, it affected the economy. It affected everything the way it's doing now. And that was before they were even enforcing like stay home, maybe don't be stupid, blah blah blah.
This kind of reminds me, I was like 3rd or 4th grade and I had just watched Terminator 2, and I don't know if I should have been watching that at 3rd or 4th grade, but nevertheless, we all thought in my class, all my buddies were like 1997, it's gonna be really bad, man, because that's when the Terminators were supposed to start coming. This is like the opposite of that, where we're all gonna be coming up on 2024, just really jazzed to see what happens in 24 because of this one doctor's report in his book. But
or the flip side, how disappointed were you that nothing that was supposed to happen from Back to the Future actually happened?
Yes.
We don't have any of that shit because all of our engineers are wasting their fucking time on dumb stuff. Where's the flying cars? Where's the skateboards that don't have to touch the ground? Where's all that stuff? What the fuck, science? I am so tired of getting a bigger battery in an iPhone. I don't care about that. I want my own helicopter.
We're good right now where iPhones are. We're good for a few years. We came up through,
cool.
We've come up through flip phones, and those lasted us how many years? We're cool with the iPhones. Let's shift our attention to something cool.
Yeah,
there hasn't been a cool invention in like 10 years.
You're right. What are these scientists doing?
All I know is New Year's Eve 2023, I'm just going to be sitting in a baby pool of lube, just waiting for the clock to strike midnight.
Order one of those ones that are like $2,000 from Amazon. That are like 55-gallon buckets of lube.
Let's fucking go. Okay. All right.
Oh, man. That's a lot of lube.
Well, it's going to be a lot of sex. So,
oh man.
No matter which hole, they'll all be shaved thanks to our friends at
absolutely
manscaped.com and the promo code 0
long lasting razors
% off. All right, let's move on to round number 2. And this round is going to be brought to you by our good friends at Hawthorne. If you're back in the office again, like most of you are, you're going to need to find stuff to do while you're on your Twitter, while you're on your computer, while you're just fucking around, not trying to work. You can do that with Hawthorne because they have a cool website that's designed premium tailored personal care. If you want to get smelling right, I'll tell you what, you guys can see me now. I think this is the first time I've worn a polo shirt or been like presentable for the pod in a long while. I put on the cologne that they sent. It's called Work. They send Work and Play. I always put the work on right before I go to work. And then when the day is done, I get done with Kate on radio. I go in and put the play on. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? But I always do it with Hawthorne.co because they are the premium brand for any of that kind of stuff that you want. You can log onto their website, say if you like to go into the bar or the library or whatever, they're going to pick out personal stuff for you. It's going to smell great. Your bath, if you're going to use the bath, it's going to be awesome because it'll smell like cedar and all that stuff. Cedar and sandalwood. What is sandalwood?
Oh, it's so good. I love you might smell like it sometimes, that woodworking in the wood shop. It's just it's almost like it is
actual
kind of like
wood?
a woody. It has like a woody smell to it, but in a really good way.
In fact, it is a class of woods from trees in the genus Santullum. I'm surprised nobody knows that.
Brick by brick Santullum.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unbelievable. That's pretty impressive. Make sure that you go to Hawthorne.co. You can take their quiz today and get started on their personalized self-care routine for Hawthorne.co. Use the promo code ZBT to get 10% off your first purchase. That's HAWTHORNE.co. Promo code ZBT, Hawthorne.co. Promo code ZBT. They send all kinds of shit, man. Like it's and packaged so beautifully. It's nice. You feel like a fancy boy or fancy lady whenever you open it up. Make sure you do that. Hawthorne.co and the promo code ZBT. Let's move on to round number 2. This one gave me a little bit of life. It's like one of those moments. There isn't that many moments in military training where you're like, that was a nice moment we just had. Usually it's like, oh, we did this because we have to for our job or it's a required training. But you never take a step back and be like, we just experienced a nice little human interaction. And that is what happens here. I found this one on Reddit, but from a user called Pullin' Chocks, which is an unbelievable military name for somebody that posts on military Reddit sites. But this guy said, a couple weeks ago, I attended CBRN training. What's CBRN stand for, Cons?
No idea.
I think it's chemical, biological, radiation, nuclear.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the case.
Oh man, I nailed it. Maybe we'll say we did. Recently became an IG inspector, and the wing wanted to inspect a mass session. Being overdue myself, I inspected while I trained, and after donning full suit, boot, mask, and gloves, I had an idea and turned to the individual next to me and asked if I could shake his hand. which normally wouldn't be a big deal. I could only see through his eyes through his mask, but I could see he was perplexed. I quickly stated that I haven't shaken anybody's hand in about a year since COVID hit. As understanding washed over this guy, his eyes lit up. He took my hand and brought it in for a bro hug. Then he went to the next group of guys and we gave them a hug, which spread from there. For about 60 seconds, there was a little more humanity in this crap situation. I cannot tell you in words what this experience was like, but I thought it deserved to be written down. And I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. When you're in these situations like now, like shaking somebody's hand, something that you wouldn't even think about, that would be nice. Like to go out with somebody that doesn't live in your home and embrace them. Like going up to one of you guys whenever I go to New York and give you a hug when I first see you. That would be so lovely to do. Maybe we should get in mop gear.
Maybe we should. I'm a big handshake guy. So the idea that more or less I just haven't shaken anyone's hand in I don't know how long. And I miss that. I miss giving a good firm shake.
It reminds me of when I was in Iraq and I hadn't hugged anyone in a long time.
No. Stop. Don't you start with the Iraq. You went to Iraq, dude. It's Iraq.
Oh,
right?
no, I'm trying to say it in a fancy way.
No.
I went to Iraq.
Don't you put on airs with me, sir.
Welcome to Iraq. And so when I was there, I thought, man, it's been forever since I hugged anybody. And my buddy Jake Rich, who was my roommate, the guy who I threw my old silkies to when I came back from a mission that smelled just like balls, and told him that we got new laundry detergent and he should smell it. And he took a big whiff of my nut musk. Anyways, so Jake was there and I walked out. I was like, Jake, it's been forever since I just straight up hugged somebody. And he's like, me too, Maddie. That's what he called me all the time. Like, me too, Maddie, bring it in. So we took our shirts off and hugged right there while everybody was playing spades. It was so nice. A little skin to skin contact. Can't beat that.
That's important. That's very important.
It is.
It's one of those things you don't realize how much you need it and or miss it until it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I like the thought of some general looking out onto the flight line randomly and just seeing this pile of dudes in mop gear just all hugging each other and just like a big clump of love happening on the flight line. I would toss on my suit and say, all right, let's go.
I know. Could you be kind of jealous if you were one of the ones that was just like an observer and you didn't get to go into the gas chamber and everybody else is there and you don't have your gear and you saw everybody hugging? You missed your chance to get a hug in?
Yeah, and what does that say? Because that gear is not necessarily always comfortable, and especially if you're in a hot area, that's going to be very uncomfortable and sweaty. Very quickly, though, also, the reason I didn't know that acronym, we called it NBC, so the acronym was all switched around on me there.
We did too. We used to call it NBC, and now I see Seaburn pop up all the time. I don't know if that's like a new thing or what.
I don't know. But yeah, hey, I guess if I have to put on some mop gear to give some hugs, I'm willing to do that at this point.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. I love that story, though. It just made me smile to think about somebody, because if he's inspecting and he said he was an officer and he's an IG inspector, I would imagine he's probably a captain or a major. Like, imagine you just sitting there with your like company commander or the XO of your battalion, and he walks up and he's like, thinking about just giving you a hug. I'd be like, what are you doing?
Well, because also let's be very frank. Hugging is not when you're talking about a formal environment and especially officer enlisted divide, that's not something that happens all the time. You don't just, even behind closed doors, hugging is not something that is very prevalent in the military. I feel like.
Oh, I disagree. I think with junior Marines, we hug all the time.
You guys are weirdos.
Yeah, we play a lot of gay chicken too, but that's part of it, I think. So, all right, let's move on to round number 3. Kate, first of all, I want to get Kate's impression because we're going to move into some Afghanistan stuff. Kate, whenever you first got to Afghanistan, because you've been twice. Kyle, you've been to Afghanistan too, right?
That is correct.
All right. So we'll have this for Kate and Kyle. So whenever you guys got there, what was your initial impressions, like not on the bases or anything like that or on the FOBs, but the first time that you got to go out in town and experience some of the culture? What was your initial like observations that you had?
Oh man. Well, so I lived in Marja in this little village, like in a mud hut, like not even on a base for a while. It was just like a mud hut with some barbed wire around it. And the whole village, no electricity, no plumbing, no running water, no nothing. and you read about it in books, you see it on TV, but until you're actually walking around in it, it doesn't seem real. And I felt like I had gone back in time. I felt like I was like a time warp or something like that. And I was also really surprised at, because you drink the Kool-Aid and you hear all these horrible things. And I was surprised at how hospitable the people were. Like the women like would have no sugar, but they'd dump all that they had left into your tea, and their kids wouldn't have shoes, but they'd give you their finest scarf to take back to your whatever. Like
Almost like Southern hospitality, like what you think of Southern hospitality.
Where you're like, this is overkill. You don't need to do this. And they're like, no, we need to do this.
You didn't need to make these lemon cookies from scratch. I didn't need all that.
And like, even if they were the house that you knew they were letting them bury the bombs out back, like even if they were the house that like you knew was harboring bad guys, they were going to treat you like a queen when you were there. I mean, it
was kind of the same in Iraq too. Whenever there was a group that they gave like their version of 7-Up, and they gave the platoon that I was with, like the 4 or 5 guys that we were there with, they gave the bottle to us, and it was like sealed and everything. The look of defeat on the little kid's face when the mom handed it over to give, like, what are you doing? Why would you give that away? Don't give that away.
That kid's been doing his chores for 3 months in the hopes that he might get that bottle of soda, and she just gave it away.
Just tweeted it out. Kyle, what about you? Same kind of experience?
Yeah, it was. I just remember the people were really hardy people. Like they hugged the river. They were subsistence farmers mostly. And they didn't have a power grid. They didn't have running water. The power usually came from like old Soviet tractor motors that they wired up with a generator.
Which is unbelievable. The things that they could figure out how to do.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. And then the first time I went, I was a big old pogue, but the first time I went outside the wire, like 8-year-old kids were just throwing rocks like 4 feet away from our LAVs. It's like, God damn, y'all some fucking badasses. Like,
I know. And I always thought, like, people always viewed that as a negative. To me, I thought if somebody ever came, like a foreign government ever came to my land, I would hope little Kelsey was like 2 at the time. Kelsey with her bushy red hair would be out there slinging rocks. Like, don't come to my fucking area.
You throw them
Get
rocks,
out of here,
kids.
Bunch of little patriots running around.
Yeah. So that was kind of neat. But yeah, it was super remote. They didn't have roads. Like we didn't have roads. It was wild. They just rode like 4 dudes on a motorbike from like the 70s. And then they had these tractors with just bundles of sticks. It was really fucking weird. But yeah, just real remote.
The amount of things people could fit on motorcycles and tractors would be
or their heads
40 feet high, and you're like, oh my God, and there's no real roads, and you're like, this is gonna. It was also too.
Where they're going, they don't need roads.
But I mean, the way they would stack and Tetris shit way beyond like OSHA violations galore over there, but they make it work. They fucking make it work.
I remember one time we were stopped, and so we were on the road that was built, and we stopped this big old tractor full of sticks, and then like one guy gets off, and then we could see like 3 other guys, and then by the end of it there are like a dozen dudes standing around this one tractor. It's like, what the fuck happened? Where'd y'all come from?
And the process of getting all that shit on the trucks must be, they definitely did their warehousing MCIs. I'll say that.
They found all the books that we threw out and studied up. So.
Yeah. And so I wanted to talk about Afghanistan in a little bit of a different way than we normally would, because obviously this is a military podcast. 2 of the people have been on multiple tours to Afghanistan, but we don't talk about it as much as just like a country outside of the war. And I did a little bit of research, and I'm going to read some of it. Afghanistan as a country is a magnet for ethnic diversity since its central role in the ancient Silk Route. I love Silk Route stuff. I think the Silk Routes, like the stories about what happened there and like how they were ingenious of the trade from Asia to Europe at the time, was just unbelievable, which saw silk traders travel from China to the Western world to sell silk. The nation has adopted a nomadic trait, and there are at least 14 different ethnic groups or tribe, and they are often, as they're often called, in Afghanistan. And I think that's a really important note for people that don't know a lot about Afghanistan, is that a lot of times, like we view ourselves as Americans, right? Like first you're an American and then you live in New Jersey or you live in New York. Texas might be the exception there, but you look at it as that's where you're from. They don't view it that way. They view their tribe first and then Afghanistan. It goes like smaller and then into bigger, which I think is a fascinating look. But I wanted to talk about some of the things that we might not know. One of which, the sporting culture there is unbelievable. I like reading about the sports that they have there because they weren't able to do it. Imagine what would happen in America if the government was switched around and they all of a sudden said, no more sports.
I mean, we saw that slightly with the pandemic and how angry and upset people got at the thought of professional sports not being played.
But not even not allowed to play, but like you are forbidden.
Oh, yeah.
Like where you could get put to death for playing sports.
Right. So my point is, if you said you'd be put to death for playing sports, it would just be, the country might crumble onto itself.
I asked one of the women there, I'm like, what do you miss the most? Like you guys have been at war since the 70s. She was an older woman. And she said that she missed being able to, there used to be like common areas in the village, like any village, anywhere here, town, whatever, where people get together and play soccer and cricket and just hang out and like have parks and play sports and stuff like that. And volleyball, they love volleyball. Like, and that she's like, it's been like 30 years since we've had a place to like hang out and just kind of.
Yeah, it's terrible. Like, I think about myself when I'm told like, you can't play golf this weekend. We have Susie's brunch, birthday brunch, and I'm just throwing my hands up. What are you talking about? I don't even like Susie, but I got to go to this brunch, and now I can't play golf. What are you kidding me? Unbelievable.
And goes on to say, under Taliban political rule, many of the sports, including crickets, were completely banned, and women were not allowed to compete in sports or join sports clubs. However, in more recent years, more liberal regimes, sports has flourished in the country. Highlights included the first historic victory in the Asian Football Federation Championship. I remember seeing clips of that going viral and how like people were weeping in the stands because they were so happy that Afghanistan did well in that Asian Football Federation Championship. And the Afghan national cricket team qualifying for the 2015 World Cup. The number of women partaking in the sport in the country has also rocketed in the past 5 years, with women's cricket team in particular being incredibly popular. But there is one sport in Afghanistan. Were you going to say something, Kate?
Well, yeah, I did a blog for Barstool. The Afghan men's water polo team was a big thing that people were voting for and giving their money to, and a women's cycling team. There was all these people coming out of the woodworks, and it was almost like a Jamaican bobsled team kind of thing. Everybody's like, Afghan water polo team, fuck yeah. And everybody donated and supported and helped kept their pool going and all that shit. It was really cool. That was several years ago, but pretty neat. But yeah, I think
that their sporting culture is very interesting, to say the least, and that's one of the reasons why. It's because their national sport is, it might be the most bizarre sport I have ever heard of. It is insane. It's called Buskashi. Is that how you say that? You're better. Buskashi, or goat grabbing as it's known. It's considered to be one of the world's most hectic and dangerous sports. The game involves riders on horseback competing to capture a goat's carcass, with the object of the game to carry the dead goat to the opposition's area, which is marked with a chalk drawn in circle. The game, which is mostly played in northern parts of the country, has been mentioned at Olympic committees in the past and has been financed by Afghan airlines and business owners, but there's no sign the national sport will be heading to the Olympics anytime soon. Yeah, no shit.
Maybe you should, though, because I'm just thinking back in my neighborhood growing up, how intense the games of capture the flag used to be. So now you add in a dead goat and horseback, and things are getting nuts. I'm tuning into NBC to watch this.
I don't know, man. I think that we've come a long way with sports. I think that there's a lot of things that you could do. If you can't hit somebody in the head and you can't have the ESPN jacked up segment anymore because of CTE, I can't imagine people across the globe in most countries are going to be like, yeah, those folks that are riding around on horse, dragging a goat, trying to put it in a circle, that's worth it.
Okay, maybe we just alter it slightly. Maybe it's not a dead goat. Maybe it's something else, but you still maintain the integrity of the sport.
Oh, what about if it's one of those, it was really popular about 10 years ago, one of the punching bags that looks like a person that has like the orange skin. you throw that bad boy out there and you got to drag him, or just like use like a model of Billy Blanks from Taibo.
Absolutely. It's kind of like rugby meets it's rugby on horseback with a
It's
dead goat
rugby
as the
meets
ball.
polo meets capture the flag.
But
Yeah.
I love to picture the thought of bringing these guys to watch a polo match and then being like, what are these pussies doing out there
Yeah.
with their little sticks and they
Where the
can't
fuck? What the heck?
because they can rip each
there's
other
no
off.
goat?
They
What
can
the
rip
heck?
each other off their horses here. They can, I mean, it's
I'm
I've watched
sorry.
videos of it. It's wild.
I know that's extremely dangerous because falling off a horse is no laughing matter. Shout R.I.P. Christopher Reeves. But
Jesus.
Is that what happened to him?
No,
Yeah,
well, he got paralyzed and lived
paralyzed.
many,
He jumped
many
into
years.
a pool, right?
No, he fell off a horse.
Oh.
Yeah. My mom's been thrown off a horse too. Anyway, I that just seems exciting to me to see people ripping each other off horses. I'm sorry.
Oh
I
yeah,
shouldn't say
I
these
think
things
that
out
would
loud.
definitely be exciting. Definitely put
Yeah.
asses in the seats. I would watch. I think Donnie does actually did it because they play that same sport in Kazakhstan. I'm pretty sure that he did a video when he went to Kazakhstan and they talked about it there. It's a crazy sport, but I could see it being part of your, because if you're in like the northern mountains, it's the same thing as being like in rural Texas. The things that you do, if you're in one of those extreme places where there's no cities anywhere around, you got to play with whatever's there. Like
Right.
when I used to live in the country in a little town called Green Cove Springs, Florida, and behind my house with the cow pasture, we used to use cow patties as the basis. And I would, if somebody, like if the ball went and it went to tall grass, you were allowed to pick up cow poop and peg somebody with it. And that was the same thing as having the grass. If you lost the ball in the grass, that's how we evened it out, because sometimes the grass wasn't long.
I love
Oh,
that
and
game.
you-
I love that game.
There's and like too, it's like painting everybody in Afghanistan with the same brush. We would get ANA Afghan soldiers from Kabul and the big cities down in Marja where we were, and to them they were like in their words, basically, they were like, these people are fucking hillbillies. These people are fucking boonies ass. Like to them, it was like
It's
they're
crazy how
backwards
every country
Alabama
has their own rednecks.
Right, exactly. These people to them were like rednecks. So every part of the country obviously has its own flavor. But
Because we always think, I think the American perspective is that everybody that is a foreign country, like everybody that lives in France is essentially Pepe Le Pew.
right.
Everybody who lives in England is one of those bobbies who doesn't smile ever, and they're not allowed to. I think that that's the way that we look at things, instead of looking at it the same way our country, where we have people who live in like big cities and smaller cities and small towns. You live in a small town, Alabama, and you told me you played goat polo. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that checks out.
Walking into people's courtyards and seeing jugs of black tar heroin and then being like, want some tea? And people are like, oh, yeah, sure, please. Ice it up.
And obviously, I mean, I'm not saying anything ridiculous here, but obviously we're so jaded now because all of our views of Afghanistan are painted by the fact that we've been there at war for the last 2 decades, unfortunately. So we forget that, Afghanistan was an actual country who did other things. Obviously, they've had their problems for a long time now, but there are a lot of other parts of that country that besides just war.
And
because
big poetry, it looks like here.
Yeah,
And
so that one of the things that I wanted to point out is that most cities in Afghanistan have poetry night, where they go and the men and women will recite poetry. That sounds lovely. Like go into a little poetry reading every now and then, as long as it's not super pretentious poetry where people are snapping and shit.
Yes.
Get that out of my face.
Yeah,
but if
I
you're
don't want that.
but if you're just doing some normal poetry, like imagine you're hanging out and like you're just hanging out in a small little town in Afghanistan, and somebody starts saying like the Pashtun version of Shel Silverstein. I'd be all about that.
And two, again, like when I was asking that old woman what she missed, like back in the 70s, and I mean, before the Taliban came in, there's pictures of Kabul with women in short skirts and dressed like hippies. And it was a stop along, like, if you were a hippie, you might have gone through Kabul and whatever, and been smoking weed and like partying it up. Like it was a very different vibe. Afghan women could vote in the 1920s. Equality in Afghan constitution in the 1960s. By the 90s, women were 70% of school teachers, 50% of government workers, and 40% of doctors in the big cities. So much has changed.
40% of the doctors is like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think that we're at that level, which is great. And it's also, I want to point out, it's amazing that Kate knew those stats off the top of her head.
Just like the top of my head.
Really incredible.
That was like the last startling thing I'll say is that, at least when I was there, that women legit were property. And it was startling to see them being treated as such and to see them just so fully covered and controlled in every little aspect. Like you would never see, once a girl was over like 9, you would never see her by herself. We dealt with a lot of situations, like one tough one in particular with like she was maybe 11 and she ran away to our base because she was getting married off to this old man and she didn't know what to do, and it ended very poorly. But like that was shocking to me, was the way that women are treated now. And it's not just because of the Taliban. It's like in areas with lack of education and lack of literacy and all this stuff. Like,
well, that's the reason why they do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the reason why cultures come in, like the Taliban, they come in so they can take away, like the Catholic Church did that for a long time with like repressing people being able to read. You control people through education and through knowledge. And they definitely have used that playbook a shit ton. But I think it's interesting to take a look around the globe and see what's happening around. And I just love that. One other point I want to mention, everybody knows that Time magazine cover of the Afghan girl who had just unbelievably piercing eyes. You guys remember that?
Yes, I know exactly the picture you're talking about. Yes.
I think it was actually Time's photo of the decade, like where it's just her. The picture of her now, you can tell that she has just been through some shit. Her eyes are the same, but her face is so different. You could just see that they have been through a world of shit. Hopefully that gets better for them soon.
Oh my God, chaps. I'm looking at the comparison right now. That is startling.
Yeah, it really
that's
is.
What sucks to me is like, not to be a Debbie Downer at the end of this round, because there's so much beauty and so much amazing culture there.
The pictures, like if you go to Google Images of Afghanistan and you're not seeing the war, oh my God.
I follow on Instagram all these Afghanistan accounts, like the Afghanistan you never see and blah, blah, blah. And it's beautiful. But
Afghan birds, I imagine.
We're handing things back over to the Taliban, and I have zero faith in them doing anything good or right.
Right.
So that really sucks for the people. So hopefully, I don't know, who knows, but stay in tune to that. But really cool country, really, really beautiful people. And it was, I feel really privileged that I got to see it firsthand. I wouldn't change that experience for the world. So yeah.
No doubt about it. All right, let's move on to round number 4, which is going to be presented by our friends at 3Chi. I'm not going to read a lot of the actual ad read on 3Chi, but I want to give them a special shout out because as I've talked about, I don't know if I've actually talked about it a lot on this show, but my stepdad was diagnosed with brain cancer, and it's the same brain cancer that killed John McCain and it killed Beau Biden. And he has that. My family's going through that right now. He was supposed to retire in March in 3 months. He was supposed to be retired after working at Boeing for 20 years, after being in the Navy for 20 years. They were looking forward to doing some traveling and going around, getting an RV, getting some land on a lake and moving there and finishing out their lives. And then one day he collapses getting out of the shower, thinks that he broke his arm. He did break his arm, and then has to go to the hospital, and they checked why he was dizzy, and they found the brain tumor. And obviously that's something that's been financially devastating to my family. I've had to help my mom and like get other people to help my mom, different veteran organizations and shit like that. And I explained that just a little bit on Twitter. Well, the 3Chi Twitter account saw some of the tweets that I was going through, and they had remembered during an ad read, I said that my mom was sleeping better. And they said, we imagine that your mom's going through a really stressful time. Do you mind sending us our address so we can give her some of our product? And it's little gestures like that when you're going through something that just mean the world to you. Like my mom doesn't do any ad reads. She's not on social media. She's not doing any of that stuff. They didn't know I was going to talk about it on this podcast, but them sending a box of the gummies so my mom could get solid sleep while she's worried about her husband who has brain cancer is just such an incredibly nice thing to do. And it's such a great product. I will say some of the ad read stuff to make sure that you get it. You have to be 21 to purchase. They are an incredible company. The ones that first used Delta 8, which is different from Delta 9. It's federally legal it's legal in most states, federally legal across the board because they're using hemp. Use a promo code ZBT 2021 to receive 5% off your order. You're going to love it. They're a great company that's doing great things. And I really appreciate how they went above and beyond, not just for me and sending me products that have helped me get the best sleep that I've gotten since I got out of the Marine Corps, been in the Marine Corps, but also for helping my family. I really appreciate that. So let's support them. If you support me, support 3Chi as well. Maybe not if you're on active duty, because you will pop on a piss test. That's important to know. But make sure that you're going to 3Chi. I enjoy them, and send their social media person a shout out at 3Chi CBD or on Instagram, Facebook. They're the same thing. All right, let's move on to round number 4. This one is one I'm excited about. I want to explain it a little bit of what we're going to try to do, because we get questions a lot in the DMs, which we appreciate, from young folks that are in ROTC. They're going to go be boot officers. We get people who are thinking about joining the military and they want to hear what the culture is like by listening to this show. We get those questions all the time. And I wanted to have like an avenue where people could send us questions. So send them to the DMs at 0block30 or email them to cons@barstoolsports.com. And we will go through some of the disputes. And by disputes, I mean, if your corporal is telling you this and you think it's wrong, we want to know about it, because we'll help you out on the pod and see if they're fucked up or you're fucked up. We're going to figure out who's fucked up across the board. And I love that. I would say military wise, this is my biggest strength of helping folks through this, if what you're doing is fucked up. Because if I say you as an NCO are going too far, I think if you listen to this show enough, you know that's saying something.
That's bad. We need a name for this segment, though. We need a name for it. What are we doing?
Yeah.
If Chaps finally thinks they've gone too far, they went too far for me like 4 hours ago.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So if you have any ideas for segment names, send us that as well. But we'll start the first one. I like this one. The first one, what is it, Kate?
Okay, so this person says, I'll make this as brief as I can. I'm in ITB East and my eyesight is very, very, very bad. I needed 2 waivers just to enlist, and they let me be infantry in the first place. How they let me be infantry in the first place is beyond me. Regardless, I'm here at ITB now, and to be honest, I shouldn't be here. I cannot see a target 300 meters away in broad daylight with my glasses. How am I supposed to be a member of a rifle squad when I can't even see a target? I'll end up being a reason good Marines die because I couldn't see the enemy. Is there anything I can do? My vision is the best it can be. I've been to dozens of eye doctors and it can't get better. I honestly don't know what to do if I have to stay infantry. Is it possible that I could get reclassed like to a different MOS because of my eyesight? How did you get there in the first place? It's beyond me.
Yeah, that's a failure on the Marines.
Yeah,
that's not your fault, buddy. That's not your fault.
There was comments underneath this one, and one dude is like the perfect example of a Marine Corps sergeant, and like his response was, "Sounds to me like you're just being a pussy. You saw what the infantry does, and you don't want to do it anymore." No, it sounds like the dude can't see. I think that's a pretty big deal. I think in this one, normally I say in the moment of truth, don't say anything. I got to tell you, if you can't see and your job is to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver, you got to bring that one up to your leadership. If you can't see them, you can't locate them.
But I liked another comment I saw on it that was like, you know what? Just fire a bunch. You'll hit it. You'll hit it eventually.
Pray and spray. Just put that bitch on burst and go.
You'll hit something.
I mean, in actuality, how many targets in real life were you trying to hit that were 300 meters away?
Yeah, that's true.
And it's mostly in a tree line. You don't know what you're aiming at, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
You're fine.
Okay.
Just
I would
as
say,
long as you can see the muzzle flasher, good.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know how it works in the Marines, but the natural change would be to go to the artillery, where you just got to get close. You don't necessarily have to be very precise. You just got to get close.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Tug that.
See if you can become an artillery guy.
So I think we're all in the same position here. This one you got to tell. This isn't one to keep close to the vest. You just got to put that Dick Skinner high in the sky and be like, "Oh, Staff Sergeant, this recruit can't see."
I would say, see if they can do LASIK, because that's, if you're in the military and you don't take advantage of that, I wish I had.
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
I did.
That actually might be the best
ever.
way to get boosted up, because I don't think PFCs and Lance Corporal, which this guy clearly is, because he didn't use a comma,
any
period,
punctuation,
any at all. It's the most beautiful example of a junior enlisted Marine I think I've seen written out. I will say he did spell most things correctly and use the right words, and I'm very proud of him for not using irregardless and just went with straight regardless. So that's credit to him.
Huge.
And credit to the United States Marine Corps and the United States Naval Service as a whole. But I say tell on that one. That's a tell from me. The second one we have, has anybody here received money back from the IRS by saving and documenting your haircut receipts when filling out your tax return? It'd be nice to get back that 500 or whatever, but the military makes us spend on our haircuts. Cons, we'll start with you. Do you think this troop is ever getting back that money for haircuts?
All right, so this is a good question because I've actually never considered whether or not you could write off haircuts as a tax exemption. Stands to reason that you could, though, because
No, you cannot. Sorry,
cannot.
Gals. Haircuts for military personnel or anyone else are not tax deductible. They're considered normal grooming by the IRS.
oh, all
and
right.
are not deductible even if your job requires it.
See, I
Ooh.
think that we should be able to go and speak in front of the IRS and be like, tell that to the fucking gunny that it's optional. That
Yeah.
it's part of normal groom. It is not normal grooming for a male to have to go get their haircut every week.
No.
Like every
Right.
single Sunday or Saturday, you have to go get a haircut. That's not normal grooming.
Yeah, the Jeff D. Lowe's of the world are few and far between. So especially when you get into the military, that's not a choice. I don't know.
And also, pal, if you're a Lance Corporal and you're doing itemized tax deductions, you're an idiot.
Yeah, there's a couple things. If you travel more than 100 miles and stay overnight as a National Guard member, that can be a tax deduction, even if you don't itemize it. And the cost of any uniforms you purchase that you cannot wear off duty can be tax deducable.
Oh, so
your
don't
dress-
even try to get the Inspector Gadget coat, you Marines.
Right, exactly.
If you lose your all-weather coat, you got to still, because you can wear that motherfucker out in town. I think that with this, to me, I'll just sit blanket. Unless you came in with a lot of money, which if you did, you're an idiot too. If you don't itemize your tax deduction, just take the fucking normal lump sum shit,
Yeah.
like and do it that way. Like you're not going to get your money back anyway. It's the smartest way to go.
I mean, I respect this guy for, attempting or wanting to be this level of diligent, but it's ultimately not worth it. But I mean, because I'm usually a very big proponent of when I can get some sort of discount, even if it's a small discount, I still get it because it's better than a stick in the eye.
Oh yeah, no doubt. If you can get a discount, get that bad boy.
Yeah.
This one might be my favorite question I've ever seen about the military. And I'm not even exaggerating. This one is just so unbelievably beautiful. Here we go. Weird question, but I like to eat what I grow. Am I allowed to grow potatoes on base when I join? Also, is it possible to have a chicken or a rooster for egg laying purposes? Albeit I'll only have one pair and I'll make sure everything is tidy. Just wondering if this is possible. Okay, let's get your thoughts on this. Can a young sailor grow potatoes or have a chicken?
I have to say, as I'm hearing this, I cannot believe each little camp area on a base doesn't have a mini farm where the boots
Yes.
are responsible for creating one meal a week or something where I can't believe, can you imagine you fuck up, go out there and dig me 40 potatoes right now.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Or if you have a garden recruit, like if you put it out like in the battalion area where everything has to be clean all the time. If you had like, what are those, a neighborhood garden? What are those called? A co-op? Yeah. A co-op on all different battalions and then have like almost like the HOAs do where you have a competition of who has the best garden.
Okay.
I would like to see that.
In theory, this is all well and good, but in reality, this would get out of hand so quickly and those gardens would just get forgotten about. And then next thing you know, you just have an area of where the barracks are that just look like absolute dog crap. So I would say this is not a good idea. Now, but the question is, are they allowed? I would defer to you guys. I don't know. I never lived on post.
Absolutely not. No way. Like
No.
a fucking rooster and chicken.
Oh,
Like,
the rooster and chicken, definitely not. But I would
I
think
mean,
like
potato,
maybe like a little,
what are they going to do? Like, how are you really going to know somebody's like planting
Right.
potatoes?
You could
outside?
find
You
somewhere-
could definitely do that.
Yes.
You could
Yeah.
absolutely find somewhere to, and there are some, Lewis McChord, Fort Hood, Andrews Air Force Base, Fort Drum, Fort Wainwright, Fort Riley, and Rucker have community gardens where you can apply for
Notice
a
none of
spot.
those are Marine Corps bases.
None of those are Marine Corps bases. No, you're right. But you can find, I mean, half of Camp Pendleton was a farm that somebody
Yeah.
else like
You
leased.
can find the
could
land.
hide.
Imagine like going, because a lot of the rifle ranges are in the woods, like they have woods around to kind of muffle the sounds. Imagine if you go out there trying to take a piss on the rifle range and someone has netted off an area where they're doing like homesteading with chickens and roosters. I could see that happening.
For whoever asked this, please, for the love of God, just one potato plant, hide it, grow it, and show us your potato when it is.
Or if you're just listening and you live in the barracks, see how many things you can grow without until you get caught. Like if you have carrots or whatever, I would love
Strawberries.
to see that. Imagine getting yelled at by your first sergeant. Who the fuck is out here growing goddamn radishes?
Strawberry seeds grow like weeds, dude. Sprinkle those around the edges of the building. You'll have strawberries everywhere.
Buy me that motherfucking Marine that has blackberry vines growing all over the damn barracks.
Yeah. Please.
Get him and his NCO and tell him to bring the chicken and have the chicken at parade rest too.
That's a great question, though. I love it.
It is a great question. I thought it was phenomenal. Next one up. So I'm about to start my first assignment as an officer. Is there anything people recommend to help stay organized? I've looked at the battle board and full focus planner. I'm terrible at organization, so anything helps.
Just wing it, dude. Set 20 alarms on your phone for every part of your day. That's what I do.
Yeah, that seems to work very well. I don't know what battle board and full focus planner are, but I will say
Battle board is such a nerd name. Oh,
yeah, seriously.
just call
I don't
it
know.
a fucking trapper keeper, dude.
Whatever works for you, figure it out. But there's one way to get very quickly painted as an idiot, and that is to forget meetings or to lose paperwork or to not have airtight planning schedule and know what your calendar is supposed to look like. People will just go from, you might just say, oh, I'm a little disorganized today and I didn't get to it, to you're an absolute moron and I can't trust you with anything. So it is imperative. I hate to say it as an officer, especially the further up you go, you got to be organized. So figure something out, whatever works easiest for you.
A good app, Wunderlist, WUNDER list is a top rated one. If you have multiple to-do lists, personal and professional, it like helps keep track of all your shit. Find a good app.
Dude, I had, 86 million different spreadsheets for all different things. It's so easy now. There's got to be an app to remember everything.
My advice when I became the company gunny, organization is not my strong suit at all. Like that for like doing time and shit like that. Listen, if you're going to be the lieutenant, you're going to be in charge of anything. Find somebody in your platoon or in your company that's one of their skills is being incredibly organized and have them do it. Like that's what I used to do for the training, like rosters and shit like that. I had one clerk and I knew she was incredibly organized. I'd be like, I need you to make a spreadsheet of everybody who's completed the rifle range and who hasn't. Put it in Excel, make it easy. She would do it and it would be done great. Then I would bring it to the company commander and be like, look at this. And it'd be like, wow, that's incredibly organized.
The only thing I will say to that, I agree that is a good tactic, but you 100% have to own it. You have to understand it. You can't just like take it from the person and put it on the commander's desk. You have to
give them credit if they do a good job too.
Yes, absolutely.
I like
know your strengths and weaknesses.
All right, next
one. I like
one.
this next one.
I got an air fryer for Christmas and have no clue if I'm allowed to have this in a barracks. Kate, your thoughts?
These are the new George Foreman grills. When it was my era, it was everyone. Don't say anything, just hide it. It's like me with my cat in this apartment. Just hide it. If they're coming through on field days, whatever. If you are lucky enough to have a common kitchen area in your barracks, hide it in there or something like that when you need to. But yeah, no. Any open heating item you usually can't have.
It stinks because the George Foreman, you could get those at like Goodwill usually. Yeah. Like almost any Goodwill has a George Foreman sitting in the back somewhere where you can grab it. Air fryer is going to be like $30-$40 at least. So when you lose one of those, you're out some money. I think this one, you're just asking for trouble because air fryer, you're definitely going to be able to smell it like in the hallways and shit like that. This is not one you're going to get away with. By all means, try it, but I don't think you're going to get away with it.
Win your hallway over, fry everybody up some good shit and say, hey, this is all between us. Let's keep it on the DL and help each other hide the air fryer.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So I would say no. Kate says yes. So that is where we'll leave off on that one. You do it? I would say across the board, maybe not in the Air Force. I bet the Air Force lets you have that stuff.
Yeah.
The Air Force probably has a registry that you get before you move into the barracks where you get to check off all the items you want to receive.
They were allowed to have hot plates, and I was incredibly jealous. When I was at K-9 school, I was like, oh, we got to go out to eat. Why don't you make stuff in your barracks room? Oh, we're not allowed. You can't do it on a hot plate? Oh, Let a hot plate be found during field day.
I was handling a 50 cal 30 minutes ago, but no, I can't have a hot plate in my room. No.
Yeah, because
Absolutely
and at the time I was 23, which
Yeah.
seems even more ridiculous.
Yeah.
Next up, I've been in about 4 years now, and for the life of me, I can't understand why we as a military haven't done away with parade rest. Outside of basic training environment, does it truly foster discipline, or is just one of the we do it because those before us did it? Cons, we'll start with you.
No, you do it. It's just because it's one of those things where across the military, if you go to any other unit, you just know what parade rest is. So you can stand and be uniform no matter where you are. And when there's a group of people standing around in formation, they all look the same. It's about uniformity. It's not about what did we do, or were we doing something because those before us did it. It's a way to look uniform. I think this is a silly question to look any deeper into it more than that.
Kate, you muted yourself. You got to stop muting yourself all the time, Kate.
Well, I'm burping every 2 seconds. It's but it's supposed to be like a respect thing, I think. And so I don't know.
I think I'm going to have a surprising take for you guys. I think that a majority of the time it is stupid. I think going to parade rest, like if you're just having a normal conversation as a corporal or a sergeant with a staff NCO, going to parade rest, if I'm like teaching you something or we're just having a conversation, I think that's silly. Like you probably shouldn't have to do that. Now, if you're getting dressed down or if you're in trouble and it turns into like dad voice or mom voice where you know you fucked up, I could see like instilling discipline by your going to parade rest. Like that is the sign of respect there. But normal conversation, I think that you get further in training when you are a little bit more relaxed and you're doing a teaching environment rather than a discipline environment.
So I took this as just, I didn't take this as necessarily as training. Cause yeah, I think it makes sense if you're training on something and you're having a discussion that you could just stand.
Oh, I don't think they're trying to get away with parade. I don't think that's it.
Yeah.
Ooh,
But
I
no,
bet if you're really into like cuck porn and stuff like that, I bet you love going to parade rest.
Oh,
I'm a
yeah.
dirty little parade rest boy.
Oh yeah, I was you. Hey, get me, daddy.
Chaps, I agree with you though, because I can imagine if you just let anyone
Kyle.
stand any which way when you're dressing them down, when First Sergeant Lugo's giving them a talking to, they could be crossing their arms, rolling their eyes, putting their head back. So it's a way to maintain that good order.
It nips a lot in the bud. I agree.
Yeah.
It nips a lot in the bud.
I had a certain first sergeant, I won't say if it was Lugo or not, but whenever there was a young Marine that came into his office, didn't go to parade rest whenever he was talking to him. And he made the Marine turn around. He was like, turn around. I need to see the back of your uniform. And whenever he did it, he took like, you know how you do like frogging in somebody's arm, like where it makes a little bump show up, like her dead leg. He did that right where their kidney is. And he like hit him like pretty hard. And your instantaneous like reach back. And he's like, that's where your hand should have been the entire time.
That's one way to get you to go to parade rest. Jeez.
True.
Yeah.
My word.
I love it. That was great.
He's lucky he didn't just drop him to his knees with the kidney shot.
So I like that one. Parade rest, I think that's it. I mean, for me, it is silly a lot of times because you worry so much about the customs and courtesies and discipline where the main purpose of what you're doing, the training of that individual troop or like the mentoring of that individual troop can go away because you're so focused on what I envision to be minor issues. But that's how I feel about that. All right, let's move on to a little bit of save rounds and alibis. Kate, we'll start with you.
Well, here come the sirens going by my apartment. That never
Kyle,
ends.
we'll start with you.
Excited for 2021. A lot of good stuff coming. Hopefully we can travel and get back to like seeing people again. Because even when we discuss things in the group chat, it seems like we all get more creative and excited. So being able to do that in person would be cool. We got a lot of cool stuff coming out. YouTube, we'll be doing a lot more on YouTube. Kate, we're going to have the first ZBT baby ever. We're actually going to be in the room during the delivery. It's going to be a live stream podcast. So look forward to that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. That's it. I'm just excited for the year.
If that baby doesn't go to parade rest when it comes out,
so help
if it's
me.
not
Go
born
back.
in
Get
parade
back.
rest, get back in there right now.
Nasty little worm.
Yeah, exactly.
You forgot to
Right.
bring out your discipline.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right, Cons, what do you got?
So everybody knows about the Barstool Fund. Hopefully everyone by now also knows about the PS5 giveaway that we're doing. Before we started recording today, we had 552 entries and raised over $13,800 so far. So let's keep that going until Thursday at midnight. I think that's just pretty cool that people are getting involved in a different way. And then I grew up loving the Karate Kid movies. So 2 years ago when Cobra Kai debuted on YouTube, I was all over that. First 2 seasons, and now it's on Netflix. Season 3 just premiered. I won't spoil anything, but I look at John Kreese a little differently now because he seems like a very tortured guy who is dealing with a lot of PTSD issues. Did I say that right? PTSD. Sorry. And it totally changes my viewpoint on John Kreese. So
I'm glad you brought that up. Kate, what about you?
Nothing. Just settling into the new apartment. I'm looking at the time now because the trains only come once an hour, and so I'm like, well, I'm gonna miss this next one. I'm gonna wait until the next one. So
Periscope's gonna be real boring.
Yeah, it's gonna be. So I have a little bit getting used to because I'm used to being able to run down the block and hop into work whenever I want. And now I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna look like a. But so getting used to the new apartment, but I'm so happy to have my own bedroom now that I can't even begin to tell you, and to have my own kitchen, and to have also it's the little things. So very exciting.
The ability to have a hot plate,
a dishwasher, a washer dryer. I have a little jacuzzi tub that I overflowed with bubbles the other night.
Do you have
your hair looks very clean.
Yeah.
My hair is so clean. It is amazing how much Also, when you move, you think you're clean. And then they move that couch to the side.
Oh, no. Yeah.
You just want to die that other people are seeing like the 47 dusty, crusty hair ties my cat has pushed back there with his claws still hooked.
At least you're not like one of those nasty Lance Corporals that I had when I did a barracks inspection before they were going to leave. Move the couch and there was nothing but behind the couch. It was like a 2-foot row of dried boogers on the back of the couch.
Kate, I should also point out that you can tell you're in a much bigger apartment because there's a little bit of an echo on your mic now.
I gotta fill in. I still gotta get. Sorry about that. I still gotta get some carpets, and it's so empty in here. I could roller skate if I wanted to.
That's awesome.
Really,
Did you get it?
You should.
I'm gonna.
Do you have an air fryer?
No, I don't. I wouldn't know how to use it. I've been making so many PB&J sandwiches.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Air fryers are so incredibly easy. You just put it and walk away.
And you don't have to touch the meat when you just pop it on in there. You'll be fine.
All right. I'm listening. All right.
Yeah. I don't really have anything, no save rounds, alibis. I am ready for January 6th to be over and get on with the new squad of whatever we're going to do in government. And I'm looking forward to shitting on whoever is the defense secretary nomination. That should be fun. We'll keep that going no matter who's the president of the United States. I also want to mention, I do have one, in fact. There was a Green Beret that got in trouble for having a negligent discharge. Did you guys see that?
I did not.
Yeah, we got it sent a lot to us.
And you're not going to like this one, Kate.
What happened?
It's the first female Green Beret. And
I did see that.
She got in trouble for an accident. When that, because that could, an ND can legitimately happen to anybody at any time.
And it happens to men all the time.
No, Kate. No male Green Beret has ever had an ND. It's a fact.
That's like in Saudi Arabia, like women can finally drive, and being the first woman to get an offender bender, you're like, oh, God damn it. God,
but that's what went through her brain. As soon as it happened, like, is my foot okay? Is my carpet okay? Did I hurt anyone? Fuck. I'm the first female Green Beret. And this happens. I'm never going to hit. Even though she's much more competent than any of us in weapons handling and shit like that. Yeah. Stuff just happens. That sucks that had to be out there. But at least her name isn't out there for OPSEC purposes. So that's good.
True. Very true.
Yeah, that would be embarrassing. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you back here on Friday. Sound the retreat.